Kamala Harris has trailed Donald Trump in most national surveys since Biden dropped out of the race last weekend. But how is the vice president's polling in comparison to the president in the key battleground states? In order to secure the presidency, a candidate must hit at least 270 electoral votes. On your screen right now is the 2024 Electoral College map, with 7 states left blank. These are the key battlegrounds with enough polling data between Harris and Trump for Decision Desk HQ to have created an average. The rest of the states are already filled in with my own prediction ratings based on a combination of fundamental factors like past results, trends, and demographic data, as well as how the polls were looking between Biden and Trump before the dropout. Of course, with Harris now at the top of the Democratic ticket, this is an entirely new race, and we should take previous polls with a grain of salt, as voters now have a different decision to make. But with that said, the previous polls can still inform us as to the general shifts that we may expect to see in some key battlegrounds. So let's now take a look at the latest averages between Harris and Trump, starting in Nevada. The latest average via DDHQ in the Hill has Trump leading by 8.6%, based on 4 polls thus far. Trump is averaging 49.5% across these 4 surveys, compared to Kamala Harris's 40.9%. The individual poll margins themselves have ranged from Trump plus 3 all the way up to Trump plus 10. Now, obviously, these polls are a strong sign for the former president here as we go ahead and place Nevada down as likely Republican on our map based on that average. It's early, of course, and each of the surveys in this average did come in prior to Harris becoming the new presumptive nominee. Still, there have been numerous positive indicators for Republicans here over the last few cycles, even as Democrats have dominated statewide elections since the Obama era. Nevada has shifted 5 points in favor of Republicans relative to the nation since 2012, and it ranks 44th out of the 50 U.S. states in terms of the proportion of residents with a college degree. That's the lowest of any state that Biden won in 2020. His 2.4-point win 4 years ago was identical to Clinton's 2.4-point win in 2016, which means that Nevada actually trended right compared to the rest of the country, considering that Biden won the national popular votes by a wider margin than Clinton did. More recently, though, in the 2022 midterm elections, the GOP also won a closely contested race for governor, flipping it from blue to red, and came within a point of defeating a relatively popular Democratic incumbent senator in that election as well. Perhaps most notably, though, Republicans received more U.S. House votes than Democrats across Nevada's 4 U.S. House elections in those midterms for the first time in decades. Our next state here, back on the map, is in Arizona, Biden's second closest margin of victory in 2020 at 0.3%, 49.4% to 49.1%. He became the first Democrat in that election to carry Maricopa County, encompassing the Phoenix metro area, in over 70 years. Maricopa always holds the keys to winning elections in Arizona, much like Clark County, encompassing the Las Vegas metro region in Nevada. Contrary to Nevada, though, Arizona has trended to the left over the last decade due to rapid population growth, primarily drawing people from left-leaning areas of the country, here in Phoenix, combined, of course, with rising turnouts among Latinos and Native Americans. Arizona had previously been a reliably Republican state, backing GOP presidential candidates in 16 of 17 elections held between 1952 and 2016. Now, here in 2024, Trump had been consistently polling ahead of Biden, and that continues here against Harris. The average is Trump plus 6.4 based on 6 polls, 51.1% to 44.7%. There has been a post-dropout poll here via Emerson College, surveyed between July 22nd and 23rd, showing Trump up 5 points here in Arizona. The previous 5 surveys had ranged from Trump plus 5 to Trump plus 9. And now going back to the map, the state of Arizona will lean Republican. To Georgia we go now, the closest state in 2020 at Biden plus 0.2, 49.5% to 49.26%. Another formerly reliable Republican state, Biden was the first Democrat to carry Georgia since Bill Clinton in 1992. as this Atlanta metro region saw a massive turnout boom among black voters in favor of Biden. Polling here in 2024, though, had shown the incumbent Democrat losing ground among black voters against Trump. And the hope for Democrats, of course, is that Harris can stop some of that bleeding and thereby keep Georgia competitive. The latest average via DDHQ has the former president leading the vice president by 6 points based on 7 polls, 47.6% to 41.6%. None of the polls here are from after the Biden dropout. They have ranged from Trump +1 down here all the way up to +10 on 2 occasions. This is another lean Republican rating here in Georgia on our electoral map. Now that pushes Trump to the very brink of victory here with 268 electoral votes. Harris remains at 213. 4 states to go. Let's head to the Commonwealth of Virginia. 13 electoral votes. Joe Biden is the first Democrat since Franklin D. Roosevelt to carry Virginia by a double-digit margin in a presidential race. Northern Virginia, Nova, the D.C. suburbs, have seen a rapid population growth and trended to the left over the last decade or so, pushing the state further and further out of reach for Republicans. Even in Glenn Youngkin's off-year gubernatorial victory in 2021, he only won by 2 points in what was as strong an environment for the GOP as they possibly could have hoped. Now in 2024, there has been a lot of discourse surrounding Virginia over the last 2 months, as a whole lot of polls have come out showing Trump tied or ahead of Biden here. Yet the latest Harris versus Trump average from DDHQ has the vice president leading by 2.6% based on 5 polls, 44.9% to 42.3%. In almost all of these surveys that you see down here, Harris's leading margin over Trump was actually better than Biden's. And so going back over to our map, Virginia tilts blue. That leaves us with our core Rust Belt trio that has decided the last 2 presidential races. It's likely to play kingmaker once again, as even if Trump does sweep the Sun Belt battlegrounds of Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, if Kamala Harris manages to hold Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin in the Democratic column, she would hit exactly 270 electoral votes. Of course, with that said, Kamala is generally expected to perform weaker than Biden, relatively speaking, in these states, while overperforming him in the Sun Belt. I expect Harris to consolidate some of that minority support that Biden had lost, especially among voters who view both Trump and Biden unfavorably. But she will probably struggle to match Biden's unusually strong backing from older white voters, which is key here in the Rust Belt states. That, of course, does not necessarily bode well for Democrats. In fact, it most likely makes the path to 270 more difficult for the party, as Harris will likely need to rely on a more substantial improvement in the national popular vote than Biden would have. But that's a bet that Democrats are more than willing to take, as Biden was tanking, and there was no reason to think that he would bounce back, whereas Harris has at least injected some energy into the base and comes with a higher ceiling. Now, the polls here in 2024 do show her polling closer to Trump here in these 3 states, just as Biden had been all cycle long. She trails Trump by 4.6% based on 7 polls in Pennsylvania, 49% to 44.4%. This margin has narrowed a bit over the last month, but obviously, again, it's a very small sample size. Then over in Michigan, generally the bluest of these 3 states at the presidential level and down ballot, it's only Trump +2 right now based on 4 polls. Trump 49.6%, Harris 47.6%. The latest Emerson College poll, coming right after that Biden dropout, shows Trump up 2 points. And the previous 3 surveys had all come in right around there as well, within the margin of error at 2 or 3 points too. And then finally, in Wisconsin, out of all of the states that we have looked at in this video, Joe Biden had been consistently polling the best in Wisconsin against Trump, even leading at many points this cycle. This, at least for now, has carried over to Harris, as she only trails Trump by 0.1%, a tenth of a percentage point here, based on 6 polls, 49% to 48.9%. That same recent Emerson College survey that we saw in Michigan has Harris leading in Wisconsin by a percentage point among 845 registered voters. The previous two surveys from earlier this month had Trump up by just a point. So going back to our electoral map now, we're going to place Wisconsin firmly in the toss-up category. While Trump's 2-point lead in Michigan translates to a tilt GOP rating, in Pennsylvania, Trump plus 4.6 is lean Republican. Now, part of the reason for Democrats performing better here across the Rust Belt than in the Sun Belt is that this region is generally less religious and thereby less socially conservative, meaning that the issue of abortion, which is easily Democrats' best polling issue, has served as a rallying cry for the party as they've consistently overperformed in governor, Senate, and House races since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. So now with all of these states filled in, the updated Electoral College count shows Trump as the projected winner with 302 electoral votes ahead of Harris's 226. 10 electoral votes in Wisconsin are marked down as toss-up. That is all for today's video, though. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think of this map and these electoral race ratings. Shout out to my channel members on screen here. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to become a member, go ahead and click the join button below this video to receive exclusive perks. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. You can check out more content from my channel here. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See you next time. EP out.